You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.
And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market, from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the option block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts Uncle Mike Tussaw from RCM Asset Management, Andrew the Rock Lobster Joe Vanazzi from OptionPit.com, and Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the option block.
All right, everybody. That rockin' tune means it's time to rock out with the option block, everyone's favorite, pretty much the only bi-weekly options show out there. So if that's your frequency you're into, we got you covered. My name is Mark Longo from the OptionsInsider.com, as well as, of course, from the ever-exciting Options Insider Radio Network. I'm coming out from a little bit of a cold here, listeners. You can probably hear in my voice a bit, but I'm struggling through to bring you guys the content you guys have come to know and love. Of course, you can always hit us up live if you need it instantly every Monday and Thursday, 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern, via Mixlr, Mixlr. Grab it once, grab that link, set it and forget it. It's the same all the time for this show and for all of our other shows. So if you have that one show, you listen to Vol Views or whatever it may be, Advisor's Option, whatever show floats your boat, you can use it for this show too. It's all the same link. And of course, you can always grab us the website, mobile app, all that fun stuff. However you listen, live, after the fact, make sure you hit us up, questions, comments, insights. It is Mail Block Monday, after all, so we do like to hear from you guys. And joining me on the program today, let's spin the old option block roulette wheel. Let's see who it lands on. First, we are stopping at a little tiny hamlet outside of Chicago, where I hear there's quite the little options meetup group over there at Skippy's Gyros and Lemonade. We are joined by none other than Uncle Mike Tussaw from RCM Wealth Advisors. Uncle Mike, how goes the ever-growing Options Meetup Club?
Oh, it's exciting. We're up to around 50 members now. And ironically, we're probably about we have our meetings probably about as far from Skippy's as you can be and still be in St. Charles almost. So maybe not quite that far, but we like the location right next to the St. Charles Historical Museum. We're right next door to that. So that's what's going on. And out of curiosity, do you really have an option block roulette wheel? Because I've been to your studio. I've never seen it. I'd like to see that sometime.
It's we keep it under the desk just for this show. Then we put it away.
Oh,
so
okay,
it's a secret element only for the option block. One of these days I'm going to get a call from people over there at Euros and be like, why do we keep having these hordes of people coming into us saying they heard about us on the old option block program? And I'll say, well, maybe you want to sponsor that fine program because your Euros are that darn tasty. They must have at least quadrupled in traffic since we've started talking about it, going up from 2 all the way to about 8 people hitting that Skippy's Gyros out there in St. Charles. Then we spin the wheel again, and I don't know really where this one lands because you never know when you're bringing on the meatball. Yes, Mr. Mark Sebastian from OptionPit.com by way of Carmen Line. Is he at the zoo? Is he at Costco's? Is he under a bus? We never know. Mr. Meatball, where are you today, sir?
You know, Mark, what would you say is your favorite part of the St. Charles Historical Museum? My part is the baby grand piano that they have roped off. I forget whose grand piano it is, but I think that's my favorite part. Plus the beautiful Art Deco design of the museum. It's got that great outdoor seating area. It's really. Now the other thing is you've got the Fox family market right there. You know, who doesn't want to go to that great gift shop? I mean, you can get everything you want at the
your depth of knowledge of the St. Charles tourism industry is
gift
impressive.
shop. Yes, I know. The gift shop is called the Curious Fox because it's right near the Fox River. So if you're curious about the Fox River,
and who isn't,
and who isn't, or foxes for that matter, if you're curious about foxes or the Fox River, then hey, doesn't get any better than that. So. The other thing I really like is they've got the Fox River Trolley Museum. That's another one of my favorite landmarks. I'm doing great. I'm just going through all of my favorite parts.
Long lead up to you're doing great. So I'm glad to hear you're doing well.
Parts of the Fox River Valley, St. Charles district.
I'm glad to hear your tourism.
I've never been more excited to be a resident than right now.
I know.
I kind of want to go see those places myself now.
It's getting me excited.
Well, it's the best.
They have Liberace's the piano there in the museum, all roped off. I hear it's quite nice.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's Elton John's. I don't know.
And both then stop over at Smitty's on the corner after you're done.
Both of them, I hear, natives of the St. Charles area. So there we go, spreading a little bit of FUD out there for St. Charles as we keep on rolling right on into the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Trading Block. This is the portion of the show where we break down what was trading, what was catching our eye in today's activity, and surprise, surprise, a little bit of stuff coming off, a little bit of vol. Not the worst thing, depends on how it's delivered and where it comes and what side of it you're on, I suppose, how you feel about that. But still, we got a little bit of vol injected back into the system today. Most of the major indices selling off pretty hard, off about 1.5% after being down farther intraday. The tech-heavy NASDAQ leading the charge at the downside, ending the day off about 2.5%, being down more than that. Of course, a lot of the furor stemming out of the potential issues going on with Facebook, all this continued fallout over the 2016 election and how Facebook's data was manipulated and their data protection and how they gave a bunch of data to a scientist who apparently allowed it to be used by this third party for all sorts of nefarious purposes during the election and beyond. And so calling into question all sorts of issues with Facebook and how they handle their data, and calls for more congressional insight and investigations and all that fun stuff usually means good things for the stock, and that's exactly what happened today. Facebook selling off, about 7%, closing out right around the 172 level out there and dragging pretty much the rest of the NASDAQ down with it. Again, off about 2.5% to end the day after being down more than that. The VIX also breaking back into the 20 handle today. So you got as high as nearly 22, 2187 out there in VIX land before ending the day, about two handles shy of that, right around 1980 or so out there in VIX cash land. So all of us, including myself, who were predicting a nice quiet end of the week for vol views, got a few more sessions to go and about 5 handles to the downside to go. But still looking not so good, at least for my prediction to start the week off. But we all know 4 more days, a lot can happen in that time. Meanwhile, though, got a little bit of vol back on the board. So let's start there, Mr. Meatball. Been a while since we had you on the old option block. In addition to your tours of recent St. Charles hotspots, what was catching your eye in today's kind of vol palooza?
Yeah, I mean, they just murdered FANG. FANG recovered toward the end of the day, but it was a rough day all around for your Facebooks, especially your Facebooks. But, they threw Google down the river, Amazon, Apple, and basically anybody who makes money data mining got just torched today. And so it was not a good day for the NDX, and that pulled everything lower. It kind of creamed the S&P. The Russell was down pretty big at one point, recovering a little bit. And the Dow also got creamed. Now, they are off the lows, but they still got, the NASDAQ was down 2%. The NDX, just an awful day for them. And, it's just kind of fascinating to see how they bid this stuff up. Now, as the day wore on, vol came off a little bit. VIX was over 21.5 at one point. Closed about 1940. Vol futures, VIX, it doesn't help that with that FANG I mean, really, what happens is that the market has a soft underbelly right now, and there's a lot of nervousness around what is going on, and so now you have a volatility landscape where, people are nervous, and so you get some bad news like what happened with Facebook today, and the market goes just tumbling. And there's not a lot of great reasons to go long, certainly not today. Did we recover 16 points off the bottom in the S&P? Yeah, but we're still down 40, and VIX was still up big. So, there's still some real risk in what is going on with the overall market, and it'll be interesting to see what things look like tomorrow. But today did not settle on lows, but kind of an ugly day as a whole.
I do like that, the soft underbelly of the market. Pulling a little wisdom from old Winston Churchill. You planning to invade Europe next, maybe through the soft underbelly of Europe there?
No, the only place I'm invading is the Riverside Pizza and Pub next to the El Puente, right near the Arcade Theater in beautiful downtown St. Charles.
You're all over the St. Charles. Are you paid by the St. Charles Tourism Board today? So brought to us by the St. Charles Tourism Board. If so, I want in on that juicy action. Speaking of juicy action, Uncle Mike, you're in the hotbed of the markets known as St. Charles. Some may call it the soft underbelly of the markets. What caught your eye in today's activity, sir?
Well, I've eaten at the Riverside Pizza Place, and it's given me quite the soft underbelly through the years, but that's another story. With that being said, and also it's the Arcada Theater. That's what it is that, where they have such acts come to play recently as Bret Michaels. We've had Charlie Daniels, and we've had
Tesla.
Oh, yeah, we get the big ones, baby. But with that being said, I think a lot of this, Facebook's obviously the big story on the day. The other thing to bring up is that we do have the Fed meeting coming up on Wednesday, but I really don't think that's going to be, we're going to raise 3 times or we're going to raise 4 times in terms of our rates. But in reality, I don't think we're going to know if we're really going to raise 4 until we raise 3. So I do think Facebook was the big story of the day with the new Fed chairman coming on board. And when he's going to be in there on Wednesday for the first time, I think there is some uncertainty with that. But overall, I do think Facebook was the big story of the day today. In terms of what I did in the market, I did after I explained my position in the aggressive SPY strategy in great detail on Thursday. So make sure that you listen to it, because Andrew even gave it one of my top 10 strategy blocks ever. So if any of our listeners want to listen to that. But what I did do today, I had to roll down the my 270, 265 call. I rolled it for April, put spread. I rolled it down to the 265, 260 for a little bit of a debit same month. Just from the standpoint that with what I'm trying to do, rule number 1 of short put spreads is don't let them go in the money. Rule number 2 is don't forget rule number 1. And with it, I actually rolled it a little bit sooner than I normally do, but just want to be safe on this, because if we do, I don't think this is going to be, if anything, I would think that I don't see us going down much further, just because we are near the open of the year. And I don't think that the market's going to be negative going into the end of Q1, although it is possible, as with anything. But on the flip side, I don't know if we're going to have just like a steady climb upward. I think we're either going to stay around similar areas as to where we are right now, or just for no reason whatsoever, I think we're going to go up very quickly. And my rationale for that is that every time we've gone up rather quickly in the last, since Mr. Trump's been elected, there's really not been a reason for it. We've always gone up, this makes no sense. Why are we going up so quickly? So to add to Mark's point as to there's no real reason to be long right now, I almost think that's the reason to be long, because of the fact that every time it seems that we've had rallies to the upside since Trump's been in office, it's always been something like, this makes no sense. Why is the market's going up so quickly right now? Why is vol at 9 at this point in time? And if it does go higher, I think it's going to be on no reason for it. Now, in another month or so, when we start getting Q1 earnings, if earnings are good, then that could be a reason for it. Maybe the market might be seeing ahead to it, but I'm going with if we do rally, it's going to be for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, we do have I think the Federal Reserve is going to be key on Wednesday. And I just think that the market's got kind of sick of all of the all this crap hitting it. And how much of this run up has been FANG related? I mean, the market cap growth of the top 10 in the S&P relative to everything else. So we are extremely tech heavy here, and there is some real risk if Mark Zuckerberg gets called in front of Congress, which he's going to be. I agree wholeheartedly. What is that going to do? What is that going to do? I mean, if you want something that'll unify Republicans and Democrats, it's the ability to yell at somebody who stole data. I would point out that EFX, which was Equifax, had their huge data thing. They got called in front of Congress. They had insider trading. It's trading right back where it was beforehand. However, in between there was a lot of ugliness. And Equifax is not the 7th largest company or whatever Facebook is. And Mark Zuckerberg, let's just say, I'm not sure he's exactly well liked in Washington, D.C. And I'm relatively certain he's not well liked at all in Silicon Valley, and that could be another part of the problem here.
Paying a few lobbyists is amazing how quickly that stuff can turn around with the war chest that Facebook has on the lobbyist side. But if you notice, the invites, quote unquote, from Congress to appear before them all specified, Mark Zuckerberg or a senior Facebook executive. I think we're going to get the latter. I don't think we're going to get the former. I think they're going to hold off on Zuckerberg getting grilled, because he will. These become populist feeding frenzies, and everyone, Republicans and Democrats, love to score a few points on the mic, slamming the billionaire head of a company that's selling, or appearing to sell your data left, right, and center. So there's going to be no shortage of people lining up to kick him while he's there. So I'd be surprised if we get that feeding frenzy that they want. Maybe, and I'm sure that won't help the stock if that happens, but that's what they want. You guys mentioned the Fed meeting this week on Wednesday. We do have Mr. Powell getting his first official meeting under his belt. It's been a rough go for him. He gets sworn in, and literally the markets melt down the moment he's sworn in. So maybe that shook a little bit of his confidence. I don't know. Maybe that made him feel good. I don't know. Maybe he's like, hey, they're onto me. What do I want to do? Either way, we shall see coming up on Wednesday. Everyone, we've been talking about it on Twifo and other shows. The Fed Watch tool showing that everyone's expecting pretty much the quarter point here. Everyone's looking more beyond this to see what kind of guidance they're giving. Who knows? If we have continued sell-offs here in the market, that may cause them to ease back. Of course, you all saw the number recently, too, that kind of we called on this show, the magical Goldilocks number, where we got growth seemingly without wage inflation, which is interesting. So that keeps up. That might stymie their argument for more and aggressive rate hikes going forward. We shall see. We'll hear some guidance from that coming out on Wednesday. And before we wrap up the trading block, it is worth pointing out a lot of people get sick of the macro stuff. They want to focus on some micro things, and there are still some names popping off after the bell. Particularly, we were just talking about FANG. It's not one of the FANG names, but it is a big tech player. Oracle coming out after the bell today. Looks like the street not liking what they're seeing out there. Oracle closed today a little bit shy of $52, $51.95. They're pricing in just shy of $3, about $2.75 out there in the straddle. And looks like paper taking it to the cleaners off about $2 so far in the after hours, right around $50 here. So still not quite lining up to the straddle, but so far at least looking not too good on the downside, off nearly 4% here in the after hours. So they already took a drubbing intraday, and now they're going to take perhaps more of a drubbing in the after hours. It does come down to, at the end of the day, a lot when you announce your earnings, what else is going on in the market that day. If you can announce the best earnings on a day like February 5th, it's like spitting into the wind. So it's interesting to see how their earnings may perhaps accelerate maybe what we saw going on out there in the markets today. Anything else, Uncle Mike or Mr. Meatball, before we roll on into the odd block?
Yeah,
Let's get
Oracle.
odd.
Yeah, Oracle getting punched in the face. Not so hot. I would just kind of throw out that bonds have definitely been getting stronger, not softer. So I think the market has gone from there's likely to be a fourth dot to now there's not going to be a fourth dot. So if there's a fourth dot, look out. I think that could be a catalyst on Wednesday.
The fourth dot, could that perhaps lead us to the soft underbelly of the market, sir?
The fourth dot. That sounds like a great movie, right? Like, isn't that a movie by Spielberg, The Fourth Dot?
If it's not, it should be.
Yes,
right
or
on.
it could be a cartoon during Adult Swim.
I think each one of those would be good. Meanwhile, speaking of good stuff, let's keep on rolling right on into the odd block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the odd block.
All right, everybody, time for the funky part of the show. So put on your deerstalker caps, perhaps a nice trench coat, and join us on a journey through the dark back alleys of the options market. Let's kick things off where we always do. Tesla joining in this fun love fest to the downside today, off about 2.5%, nearly 8 handles. Let's see how low our friend Mr. Tesla got, down to 309.67 today. So I know a lot of you out there like your put right in Tesla, and I know you get a little nervous when it gets shy of the 320 handle. And looks like today it actually was at one point perhaps starting to threaten the 300, got broke the 310 level. So perhaps already some of you in the money on your puts, some of the rest of you sweating. But hey, it's not a good premium sale if you don't have at least, one sleepless night or two, right? That's half the fun. That's what you're getting paid for. All right, let's see. Speaking of Tesla puts, let's see what was lighting it up today. Were people trading our old friends, these mystery weirdo catastrophe puts? The answer is yes, and doing so en masse. In particular, let's start off with our friends, the Jan 2019 50 puts. There's 36,277 of those on the tape, and another 315 hitting the tape today. So these things trading about 77 cents at 80. So they're still fairly rich and doing about 300 odd contracts piling on. And that's not enough for you listeners. Let's go out a little bit farther, precisely 1 year to Jan 2020 50 puts. And they did almost as many. They did about 240 of these puts going on the tape with well over 8,000. We talked about how last week how this strike has broken through the 8,000 level and did so, shall we say, with gusto, and doing a lot more paper today, 239 to be precise here as I'm reloading my system. By the way, Mr. Meatball, I don't know if you played around with it. I'm playing around here with the new version of LiveVol. They unveiled a new version down at the RMC conference, and they sent me a link to it to play around with it, and I've been playing around. It's pretty interesting. Have you had a chance to kick the tires on it yet, sir?
I have not.
It's cool. It's got a lot of research functionalities, which is great for a show like this. We can get into some of the historicals and other things. And they think they extended the data out to about 5 years for easy access. Most of the big charts were about 2. I think it goes back 5, if not more now. So a lot of good stuff out there. Again, I'm just kind of just scratching the surface. I just got access to the new version here. At the very least, the nice thing about it is that it's HTML5, so it's responsive, so you can do things like change the layout or shrink and zoom the layout, which is always nice. You stuck in the old legacy Flash version, not so much. Speaking of legacy stuff, let's kick into the high gear here with Olin Corporation. It's been a long time since we talked about them. They're makers of many fine chemicals that you may know. Chemicals, alkali products, vinyls, and epoxies. So there you go. Talk about an old school industry. Ticker symbol OLN. Closing today right around the 30 handle. Off about $1.10 or about 3.5%. This is the name that does about 1,200 contracts a day, doing more than 10x that day, doing about 14,000 and change. About 17.5 to 1 calls over puts. And what drew our eye out there were actually a little bit of a call palooza out here in Olin. So somebody apparently liking themselves some chemical products to the tune of about 13,000 of the May 33 calls lighting it up. Actually, 12,846 to be precise. Of that, 12,500 coming in one mega block with paper lifting the offer for 60 cents. Open interest on that strike is pretty much negligible, so it's all open in paper. So it looks like, it appears to be on the surface at least, that someone coming in with a little bit of upside love here for good old OL. And let's look back and see how this chemical maker has been faring over the past year. They started off about a year ago right around this level, about a little bit higher, about 33, 32 and change, and then proceeded to bounce around all over the place, got down to about 27 back in June, got as high as pushing 40, 38 and change back in actually about end of January. It's not too long ago. And since then, looks like they've come off a fair bit, hovering right around 30 right now. So it seems like, Mr. Meatball, we got someone coming in who's, shall we say, a wee bit bullish on the chemicals industry. Are you feeling this love? And what do you think about someone scooping some near-term upside here in Olin?
I mean, it certainly appears to be a run higher. Somebody is thinking this guy is going up. I don't know much about Olin. It was down pretty aggressively today, so it could be a little bit of bottom feeding. But this is definitely a May kind of bullish type of trade. Someone who definitely thinks that this is going to move higher, and I think maybe a little bit bottom feed. Their earnings, their earnings are likely to be, well, they just got smoked on earnings in February, early February. So this does encompass their next earnings, and the stock chart looks terrible. So that long strike appears to be right around the 200-day moving average. So it just might be looking for a little bit of a mean reversion, a little bit of a bid now that it's been thoroughly thrashed.
You don't sling a lot of manufacturers of hydrochloric acid in the Prime Meridian fund?
The Prime Meridian, there is another Prime Meridian fund. Remember? Prime
Meridian 2.
Yeah.
The Revenge.
No, that's not what we're trading at Carmen Line. We are trading not that.
No, that's a sexy area these days. Hydrochloric acid, maybe get a little sulfuric in there. It's good stuff. Good for what ails you. Speaking of good for what ails you, let's move on to our next name, UnitedHealth. So maybe once you fall in the vat of hydrochloric acid, UnitedHealth folks will help you heal up. Ticker symbol UNH, closing today right around 225. Off nearly $3, so off a little over 1%. So not a great day. Feeling that downside beta here for UNH today as well. This is a name that does about 8,200 contracts a day, so pretty sizable for an odd block candidate today. Doing about nearly 14,000 contracts. About 3.5 to 1 puts leading the dance over calls today, and of that, almost 14,000 contracts going up today. About 8,300 come in a size chunk of these APE 220 puts that we're lighting it up out here in UNH today. Total volume, like I said, about almost 8,300, including some big blocks of about 7,200 for 351. 1,400 going up later for about 355. So all of them going up in about right around that 350, 3 double range out there in good old UNH. Looks like paper probably hitting near the bid on a lot of these bad boys. Going out here, let's see how, again, another name we haven't talked about in a while out here on good old odd block. Yeah, looking at the year that's been out here for UNH, they've kind of been riding that bull for the better part of the last year. A year ago, they were trading 168. Right now, like I said, they're trading 225. They got as high as nearly 250. Actually, they did hit 250 back on the 29th of January. So right when a lot of names were hitting their peaks or right around it, they hit theirs as well, hitting up as 250. Now they're down about 25 handles, floating around this 225 level. So the 220 strike out here is, shall we say, pretty close to the money, close to the fire. These things could be in the money fairly soon. Worth noting, open interest, there's only about 1,100 contracts out here. So it's all clearly open in paper out here in UNH. Mr. Meatball, Are you a fan of these pretty tight April puts here, or you think you prefer a little more wiggle room? What's your feels? What's your spidey sense telling you on these?
I think someone's trying to get into the stock, and if that's the case, then I think that's not a bad play to get in at below 220. And this isn't the most volatile stock. I won't move today, but we were down 40. So I don't hate this if one wants to be long UNH. There's been a big consolidation in healthcare. Why not? I'm not a healthcare analyst or anything like that. I'm just saying, why not?
I go to you for all my healthcare and also for my hydrochloric acid needs. So you're covering two bases there.
There you have
it. As well as all my updates on Darden restaurants, because I know you're a huge
my favorite.
Huge fan out there. So you got your Red Lobster, your hydrochloric acid, and your healthcare. Mr. Meatball, helpful on all three. Let's see if he can make it 4 for 4 here on our old odd block today. I'm not sure if anyone's too well versed in this one. Our last name is an ADR. We have a newcomer to the show. This is Criteo SA. Yes, you all know it. You all love it. Ticker symbol CRTO. Again, like I mentioned, this is an ADR. This is a French-based company specializing in digital performance marketing, and they have their Criteo engine. So maybe they do a little French SEO and a bunch of other stuff out there. Interesting. Again, not a name I follow on a daily basis, but that's kind of what makes it fun. This is the name that does about 1,000 contracts a day. So for a little French ADR, it's not bad volume. Today doing 7,000 contracts, 103 to 1 puts over calls here in our old friend Criteo. Only 68 calls going up today. So we're going to dig into those 68 calls with gusto. No, of course, it was the APE 27 half puts that caught our attention, going up 7,009 times today. So like we mentioned, of that 7,120 contracts, 7,009 came in these APE 27 half puts, going up. Paper blasting out a big chunk of, a couple of chunks actually, of 3,400, doing it on splits for 40 cents and 35 cents. So net right around 6,900 actually. Total out here, doing it for the old 3/8. I'll let you figure out what that is. Again, on splits. And looks like, again, a total of 6,900. Open interest is pretty sizable, but not enough to cover this. 5,400 there. Also looks like with that 3/8, they pretty much came right about close to hitting the bid out there. They actually did hit the bid on some of it with some of their splits. So it looks like they're potentially blasting away some new puts here. Perhaps a similar story to what we just saw. Let's pull up the chart and see for ourselves. Going back out here a year here in good old Criteo SA. This is the name that was substantially higher a year ago. They were trading 51, 52 bucks. They got as high as 56 back in May of last year. Then it's kind of been on a long, slow decline, punctuated by, looks like, a few terrifying falls to the downside here around earnings, and as well as a nice, pretty aggressive rally, too, around earnings. So this one's kind of had a bit of a volatile run. So first off, Mr. Meatball, I know you're pretty well-versed in French SEO, so what are your thoughts on this name? And then B, maybe someone else drawing a line in the sand here on our little friend CRTO?
This was definitely not one that I've looked at before. The markets are nice and wide, and it looks like it trades by appointment. If I guess this is as good a spot as any to get in, 27.5. That'd be another almost 10% lower here and you got about a month. The yield is over 1% of the value of the stock. That's not, I see why someone would want to trade that. I don't know anything about it, so I wouldn't. But if you're into the consumer cyclicals of French ADRs, then how are you gonna? Why wouldn't you want to sell that put?
Why wouldn't you want to sell that put in D? If there's a boom market for anything, I've always said it. How many times have I said it on this show? If there's a boom market for anything, it's French SEO, and so that's we all need it. We all need to do better in our Google search in France. So there we go. This company, perhaps Criteo, leading the way right on into it's Monday. It means it's time for a little bit of the old mail block.
It's time to take your seat on the All-Star panel as we read your emails, tweets, Facebook messages, website comments, and much more. It's time for the Mail Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Mail Block. This is going to be a fun one this week because it's been fun over the past week or so. Usually we have a question of the week. We're forgoing that right now because a lot of you guys know out there it's March Madness time. That also means it's time for our annual, it's our third or fourth, I think, time doing this now, our Broker Madness tournament. We take all the options brokers that are worthy of note and even some that aren't, put them all together in a ranking of 16. You don't be surprised how hard it is to put together 16 options brokers. In this day and era of consolidation and mergers and acquisitions, finding 16 names for the list, thank goodness for your nominations. You guys help us out in a bunch. We had some newcomers this year, too, which kind of helped a little bit. Just kind of mixed it up a little bit, which is always fun. But we're having a very lively and fun battle here on our old options broker madness. I'll let you guys pick. Uncle Mike, I'll give you a chance to exercise your old voice here a little bit, as we had some fun battles. Starting off last week, Uncle Mike, with TDAmeritrade, so Thinkorswim, versus everyone's favorite Choice Trade. Who do you think won that battle, Uncle Mike?
I'm going to go with TDAmeritrade. I'll be loyal to the broker with which we use.
Yes, you are correct, sir. You're 1 for 1 so far. Let's see if we can keep the train rolling. Then we had kind of an old stalwart versus a newcomer to our game here. We have the Schwab platform, which is kind of enveloped the old legacy OptionsXpress platform, so kind of a vote for that's kind of a vote for both, versus a newcomer to the broker space these days, Tastyworks. Mr. Uncle Mike, see if you can go 2 for 2. Who do you think won this one?
Oh, I'm going to go with Tastyworks on this one. I think that with all the innovation that they have going on and with over there at Tastyworks and going against old Chuck, I got to go with Tastyworks on this one.
It was an interesting battle of old versus new, and the Tasty folks rallied. They heard the call, and they rallied around their brand, and they won in pretty triumphant fashion, so it puts them in good stead for week 2. I don't know who they're up against next. We'll have to see. Then next, Uncle Mike, we had kind of a battle of an old name, but kind of a bit of a new player to the options realm, and then versus a complete newcomer who's kind of just in early access. So we had Fidelity, again, a legacy name most people are familiar with for, mutual funds and stocks, but not so much on the options side. They're kind of working to change that, become bigger players in the options space. In fact, I think they were not quite happy with the way they're placing, shall we say, last year in our options broker palooza last year, our broker battle. So they were hoping to do better. And we pitted them this year, Mr. Uncle Mike, against a complete newcomer in terms of RobinHood, which is technically their options are still in early access. But a lot of people were excited about them. They got a lot of nominations, so we had to include them. Who do you think won, old school Fidelity or very new entrant RobinHood, Uncle Mike?
I think RobinHood's too new to win this one. I'm going to go with Fidelity on this.
Oh, your first buzzer, your first whammy.
Oh,
RobinHood took it, actually, so Fidelity's going to be mad again that they didn't place very highly this year. Then we have, let's see, last year's champion, Lightspeed versus eOption, everyone's other favorite. We know Lightspeed can rally some votes when they need to. They won last year. So, Uncle Mike, let's see if you can redeem yourself here. Lightspeed versus eOption. Who emerged victorious?
Light to the speed, baby.
Well done. So you're doing pretty good. You're 3-1 so far. Let's see if we can round it out here. Let's see. With our last battle for last week, we had our old friends on this program, OptionsHouse. They're now part of the E-Trade stable. So it was kind of E-Trade / OptionsHouse. Versus actually another player who's been on the show very recently, actually, the TradeHawk by Tradier folks. So Lex and his platform and the Tradier folks going up against E-Trade / OptionsHouse. Uncle Mike, can you complete your victory lap here? Who do you think won, E-Trade / OptionsHouse versus TradeHawk by Tradier?
This is going to be tough, but I got to go with OptionHouse on this one.
You are correct, sir. So 4-1, not bad. You did pretty well. You acquitted yourself admirably, sir. It was an excellent week of battles. We got more going on right now. In fact, right now as we speak, we have, who do we have facing off? I think we have your old buddies, Interactive Brokers, facing off against Sogo Options right now. So if you haven't voted, head on. You can vote a lot of different ways, listeners. You can vote, obviously, the main polls over there on Twitter. A lot of you guys like to go there, add options on Twitter. You can also vote on StockTwits. You can vote on almost at Fidelity. You can vote on Facebook, LinkedIn, Carrier Pigeon, email, our website feedback form. We tally all of them. It's important, actually, that you vote on multiple platforms for you guys anyway, as well as like and retweet on Twitter and StockTwits, because the more you do that, the more you are entered to win fabulous prizes. You get all kinds of good stuff. You get exclusive Options Insider gear. It's only available when we do contests like this and for our crew, so you'll join a very exclusive club there. You get maybe some nice Amazon gift cards, maybe win a nice Amazon Echo over there, Echo Dot, something fun along those lines. You can join the Smart Speaker Palooza. So retweet, like, vote, do all that fun stuff. I know a lot of you already have. We're only part of the way through the first round, so we got a lot more battles ahead of us. Yeah, right now we have Sogo versus Interactive Brokers, and then next up we have TradeStation versus First Trade. They'll be coming up shortly thereafter. I think that's the. Oh no, then we also have Ally Invest, formerly known as Trade King, versus Merrill Edge. They're next up tomorrow, and then TradeStation versus First Trade on the 21st. And I do believe that rounds out our Sweet 16 battles, and we move on into the Elite 8. I don't know, Uncle Mike, Mr. Rock Lobster, or Mr. Meatball. Any names you think any surprises there? Any names you think we should have included that didn't get to play this year? Any takeaways from that?
No, I think that it's a good matchup so far. I was only surprised once with my one loss in my predictions, but I think this is going to be an exciting March Madness.
I'm all for. I'm surprised that there wasn't that nobody's named a brokerage platform Penny Trader, so that it could be Penetrator, which would be awesome. But aside from that, that's the only thing I'm not.
That would go over very well in our hashtag #MeToo era, sir. The Penetrator.
Yeah, get it, Penny Trader. How funny would that be?
That would be. Funny is one word for it. Maybe litigious would be another.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. No surprises. I think, I would encourage everyone to make sure they vote the way they feel, because there are a few organizations that will, quote unquote, rally the troops. They'll union, but they'll get their union cohorts to go and rig the election. It's like Vladimir Putin running his elections.
No, that doesn't happen over there.
No, never. He doesn't rig anything.
Yeah, we got to watch out for the Russian meddling in our broker madness battle.
I'm a little worried about that. I'm wondering whether there's any collusion between you and the Russians, and
we got a lot of surprise last-minute nominations for Boris and Natasha brokerage, but we denied those. We said those were.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have Mike Tucson might have to be an independent counsel on this.
We might see.
I don't want to get fired.
I might have to look into our data mining practices for the option. There is a lot of data going back and forth because we're collecting it across all these different platforms. So if you guys haven't played yet, make sure you got a lot of. It goes the length of the March Madness. So if you like a broker, you want to support them. Maybe you don't like a broker, you want to see them lose. It all works for us. Get in there, vote, have fun. Maybe you win something, which is always cool. At the very least, let your broker know how you feel about them. All right, I got a bunch of people chiming in on stuff. I don't know why J3 Dingle is sending us a link to the Sign of Four, the second novel. Thank you. I like Arthur Conan Doyle. I'm aware of the Sign of Four. I don't know. Did we discuss? Is that because of your fourth dot? Is that what you were going on with, Sebastian? Is that why you sending us this?
Maybe.
Either way, we always love to be reminded of classic Victorian English literature. It's good. We like ourselves a little Arthur Conan Doyle. Not sure what it has to do with anything, but hey, we love you guys reminding us of great literature. Let's see. This is an impressive name. I'm going to butcher this. Malthe Have Musaeus. Wow, that's a good one. He asks, if I buy a call option and afterwards sell it for a profit, I'm not the one obligated to sell 100 shares if that option is exercised later, right? How do I close my call option position completely and take my profit or loss? Great. Actually, it's ironic. We've never received that. It's a very basic question, very straightforward one. Surprisingly, no one has really asked us that before. So you get a bonus point here in Malthe. And I'm guessing English not your first language. You did a pretty good job here with this one. Better than a lot of our native English speakers who write into us. But yeah, this is a good question. You're on board. You guys see whenever you're in the brokerage platform, you buy it, you're putting in an option brokerage ticket. You're going to give you a choice. Is it opening or closing? That's kind of the first level of this. You're going to indicate when you sell this, and hey, you got it, you got a profit. It worked out in your favor. You should be happy. You're going to buy it, you're going to sell it, you're going to mark that to close, and then your broker's going to know as well. Even if you somehow screw that up, your broker's going to know. Usually, if you have a good broker, that's going to be closing as well. And so, yeah, then you're closed and you're out. Your position is out. So you are correct. If you sell that contract now, it's not two positions that are now you have to worry about, even though you're closing out your long calls, that someone else, you sold it to them, they're going to exercise, you have to sell to them. Nope, you're out, you're closed. You did the right thing. So how do you close your option position completely? That's exactly how you do it. You right, sell to close when you're putting that position on, or taking that position off, I should say. And you should be good. That's how you take your profit and loss. Mark and Mike, we might, find this one interesting, but it's very basic, but surprisingly, no one's ever asked us that before. So he gets points for that, I think.
Yes. Points for all. Everybody gets a point.
I'm glad Andrew wasn't here because that one was so basic it might have flummoxed him. He has a hard time with the basic ones sometimes.
That one really was pretty basic. And he's got it right, though, so he's fine.
Yeah, he's on the right track. But sometimes if I ask Andrew to answer the basic stuff, that's when he has the hardest time. So that one would have thrown him I should send him that in an email and see what he says. Let's see. The Chazz. I like this handle, the Chazz. He wants to know, what do the option block all-stars think the skew will look like in Bitcoin options? Man, we've had a lot of interesting debates about this over the last few months, ever since Bitcoin really kind of emerged on the radar. They actually have some data over there, our buddies over there at Quick Strike, when we do the TWIFO show with. They can look at the implied, and they can kind of extrapolate implied vols of some of these options now. So at the money implieds and things. Skew, a little bit of a different beast. It's still a little bit of in the weeds there. But I've heard interesting arguments for all kinds of shapes. You can have your traditional index shape where the puts have a bid, the calls are offered because, people want to sell calls to collect income and buy puts to hedge. People have an argument that the calls are bid all day long, like the old Apple days, because the zealots are out there. And I've heard an argument for smiles, which is kind of all wings are kind of bid, which I think the more I look at it, I think I'm kind of leaning that way. I think both wings are going to be pretty jacked up. At the end of the day, maybe the calls might be a little bit above the puts, so maybe technically we're looking at maybe a little bit of an old school Apple type thing, but not to that degree. I don't know, Uncle Mike, Mr. Meatball, you guys have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think that prior to the big sell-off that you would have seen that crazy super bid call, kind of internet stock type of skew. Now that it had this big sell-off and there is some real teeth to it going up and down, I think you're very likely to see a change in. I think you're very likely to see it have a pretty heavy smile. That would be my bet. I can't imagine a situation where it would not be bid on both ends and inexpensive in the middle. If you want to know what that would look like, take a look at like Yahoo in 1999. That would be what that curvature would look like. But yeah, think like oil when it was $140 and just kept going up. So that would be what I would be paying heavy attention to.
Yeah, it definitely feels kind of smiley to me. Uncle Mike, you got any thoughts here for the Chazz on Bitcoin skew? And also, if you got any thoughts, I didn't get a chance to toss to you. If you got any thoughts for Malthe on his basic opening and closing question, go for it.
Yeah, I'm also in the smile camp because I think that if it would have come out, if the options would have come out back in December when it first started to become tradable as a futures contract, I think that we would have had a lot of a skew to where the calls would have been priced higher. But I would agree, I'm in the smile camp as well, just because of the fact that it's pretty much been going all over the map recently. And then in terms of the opening and the closing from our previous question, one thing just to be aware of at Interactive Brokers, they don't say buy to open and sell to open and buy to close and sell to close. It's just buy and sell. So make sure that you have an understanding of that if you do have an account with Interactive Brokers. And quite frankly, if you don't have a deep understanding of options, IB is something to where it's typically more suited towards an institutional trader, in my opinion. It can work for an advanced retail trader, but you have to be really on your toes and have a very deep understanding of the platform and a deep understanding of options if you're going to be at Interactive Brokers. But at Interactive Brokers, it just says buy and sell. So just be aware of that if you are trading on that platform.
I always thought it was kind of weird, quite frankly, the brokers put a little bit of that onus on the client, that they have to know if they're opening and closing. Granted, they should. But, I always kind of wondered, if you select that in, like, you're rushing to put a trade and you put it in wrong, the brokers should catch it. They should obviously know, but I always thought it was kind of weird. So maybe IB solves it, but it's not doing it that way. They don't put that onus on the broker. They know it all behind the scenes. You think if any broker would have that data, it would be IB, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
Let's see here. What do we got? Jack K wants to know this is a good question for today. How do people afford to sell puts in Tesla? In order to do any size like a 10 lot, you have to be able to put up the cash to buy $330,000 worth of stock. Even a 1 lot costs $33,000. Oh, here we go. Maybe we need some minis on Tesla. So yeah, he brings up a good point. Tesla is one of the juicier names. One of the reasons people are attracted to it because it is such a rich and volatile name. It does give you a lot of juice when you're selling it. The flip side is, as you point out, it's a very pricey name. So unless you have a lot of capital in your account, you're probably not going to be able to afford to write more than like a 1 lot in your account, unless you really want to tie up a lot of your capital writing puts. And then when you see it in that perspective, even if you have a decent sized account, it might look good. You're collecting a couple of grand here or there to sell these puts, but then if you see, wait a minute, I'm tying up 2/3 of the capital in my account to sell a 10 lot in these things. Maybe I don't want to do it. Maybe it's not worth it to me. So when you start looking at how expensive it is and how how much capital it ties up and the margin costs and everything along those lines, then maybe it may not be worth it for you. Uncle Mike, what do you say to clients when they write into you and say, hey, I want to sell puts on some of these names, but they're too gosh darn expensive?
No, it's a very valid concern. I mean, in our triple income portfolio, a lot of the stocks are higher priced like that. So that's why we require a fairly high minimum to be in that portfolio. So it's definitely a concern. One thing that you could do if you want to trade it like it is a short put, you can just buy a garbage put. I know there's plenty of liquidity in the garbage put selection at Tesla if you want to hedge it a little bit to get a better maintenance requirement. Yep. But once again, I would caution you if you're going to do that, because there is leverage involved in doing things like that, and make sure that you have an understanding of how it can go against you if you do decide to do something like that. And of course, there's also a traditional put spread you can sell with a $5 difference between strikes, but in general, if you are looking to sell puts on Tesla and you don't have the cash to do it, there are ways of spreading it, but just make sure you have an understanding of what the risk is.
Exactly. If the risk is, if you're doing a really wide put spread, you're essentially just selling a naked put, but cutting the leverage down. If you're not going to take delivery, then you need to have a plan of action on what you're going to do with those puts that you sold if they go really in the money. And be aware of how much you can actually lose, and it's a decent amount. So, just you have to be on top of that stuff.
I know our Tesla put sellers in our audience. They're not going to be attracted by selling a $5 put spread in Tesla. It's not going to float the boat for them, Uncle Mike. They need to play close to the fire. So I can feel your pain, Jack K. It can get pricey if you want to go the full naked short put route out there in Tesla. Oh, we got J3 Dingle chiming in again. He says. His email was in response to the 4 rate hikes, apparently, a.k.a. the sign of 4. Wow, that was a very circuitous path he went on. A little bit of Victorian literature to refer to the 4 rate hikes. Interesting. I see where you're coming from now. Interesting. All right. We got to keep going before we get pulled into all sorts of weird directions. It's time for our final segment. It is time for Around the Block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, let's check in really quickly with our old friend Oracle It is so refreshing to talk earnings in this maelstrom of crazy macro nonsense sometimes. A nice, clear, stark earnings announcement just brings things into focus. And earnings, Oracle still off about 2 handles, right about 3.5%. Seems they have maybe solidified a little bit around that 50 handle there, 50.09 right now, so off about $2 in the after hours. We'll see. Seems like it's held that level for a little while now. So perhaps the fears are unfounded, exaggerated. Aside from that, let's go back around the horn and start with Uncle Mike. We obviously got the Fed on Wednesday. Is that the big thing you're watching, sir?
Of course. What else is there to watch? Now, looking at that, also looking to see how we react to the downturn today, whether this is a buying opportunity, and to see if we do go up for no reason, looking to see if that actually happens. So those are the things with which I am watching.
Mr. Meatball, same question for you, sir. What are you watching the rest of this week?
Yeah, Fed, and then kind of what is the continued backlash on this FANG trade? It looked real ugly today. I think there's a decent follow through. I like Mike's idea of finding a buying opportunity. I just think that's going to happen. Wednesday is going to be your day, maybe not Tuesday. I think they're going to be looking to lower things a little more, and then they may try and front run the Fed on Wednesday morning. That would be my playbook.
Interesting. Our music is coming in here. It wants to front run the end of the show. Of course, that means we've come to the end of our journey here, listeners, talking all sorts of fun stuff, talking Tesla puts and VIX and sell-offs and Oracle and FANG and all sorts of fun stuff, talking about what happens when you buy an option and then sell it. What does that mean? Are you still on the hook for giving the shares to the other guy? Spoiler alert, no. And all sorts of other fun stuff you guys have on you. I love the mail blocks because you guys always take us in weird and wild and wondrous directions. And we thank you for that. Keep those questions coming. If you don't get to all of them on the show, we'll try to answer them other ways or make sure you guys get your feedback however you like. But before we go, let's go back around the horn one last time. Let's start with the Mr. Meatball. What is cooking? Let's say I was intrigued by perhaps a vol newsletter, or perhaps I too want to trade the hydrochloric acid in your Carmen line fund. How should I go about doing it, sir?
Yeah, if you're an accredited investor and you want to have a smarter way of trading the S&P or interested in volatility trading, feel free to give me a call or email mark@carmenlinecapital.com. And if you have interested in learning how to trade like a pro, mark@optionpit.com. Feel free to shoot me an email and check us out on Twitter @optionpit and check out the blog. We try to put good stuff up there.
Check the man out on Twitter there, where he exposes the soft underbelly of the market for you too to poke at and perhaps invade, given your preference. All right. And last but not least, Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, if I'm tired of, dealing with talking about skew and things like that, or if I'm tired of just these markets, they're just spooking me, I want to just sleep at night, I want someone else to roll my puts for me, where should I go? What should I do, sir?
Well, first off, I want to promise to never expose my soft underbelly to any client ever. And with that being said, feel free to contact me if those are your desires or your needs. 312-212-3531, or shoot me an email at mtosaw@rcmfs.com.
There you go. Hit the man up. You know where to find him. Talk some skew. Maybe we'll talk about going long. He is our resident diehard bull. Maybe we'll talk about doing stuff in some of his cheapy calls like he's been talking about lately. He's been very busy rolling and adjusting all those nice little cheapies. Maybe you want to talk about his 2-year collar and silver that he hasn't really done much of anything with. Pick your poison, hit the man up, and he'll be happy to talk to you. Maybe you want to hit him up in his investing club out there in St. Charles. I can vouch for the lemonade and for the Euros. Can't vouch for the investing club yet. I haven't been there, but I'm sure it's great. But the Euros and lemonade, spot on. Excellent stuff. On behalf of Uncle Mike and Mr. Meatball, and indeed myself, I'll thank all of you out there in the listening audience for downloading, streaming, subscribing, all the fun stuff that you do. We'll see you back here on Thursday for more of The Option Block. The
preceding program was a production of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.